You're listening to Barbell Logic,
the podcast where we talk about what it means to experience strength
and how you can use simple, hard, and effective strategies in training and nutrition to improve your life.
It starts with meeting you where you are right now and finding lasting solutions.
Welcome to the show.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Barbell Logic podcast, Beast Over Burden. I am your host, Niki Sims. With me is Andrew Jackson.
Hello.
We are both coaches for strength and nutrition over at Barbell Logic, and that's what we're here to talk about today, strength and nutrition. A few months ago now, talked about how to manage fluff over the holidays. So how to kind of enjoy yourself, but minimize the addition of the Christmas padding.
Right.
The holiday padding. And so now we kind of have to do that in our own way. And we have some defluffening strategies that we've been working on since January 1st rolled around. So I thought it'd be neat to talk about how that's gone for us, what we've observed to work, how that's kind of impacted our daily routines, and to demonstrate things that actually work.
I guess first question, how did your fluff minimization strategies go? We talked about certain strategies you were implementing to minimize the overshoot or the fluffening.
Yes.
How did that part of the process go?
I think it went well. I had the idea of 2,100 calories in my head that I was going to be kind of just keeping around. I wasn't tracking though until I think after Christmas, and then using different strategies each day depending on what we were doing, whether it's going to be portion size or making sure I hit protein or managing drinks. But I also got hit with a pretty bad congestion situation. That made it, I couldn't taste things as much. So I definitely didn't eat as much as I probably would have. So new strategy is have your sinuses so pissed off that you can't really breathe or taste things.
That helps.
Yeah. How about yours?
I don't think I really did a whole lot other than a little bit more mindful. I didn't snack a whole lot.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't feel like I overate a ton. I actually didn't end up drinking very much. So I think that, generally speaking, was successful.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I came out way overshooting, but I had my normal post-holiday weigh-in in the mid-250s, where I'm normally about 10 pounds lighter. Or at least I have been for the last couple of years. Been more, my kind of maintenance weight is in the mid-240s. So, but I think that's the accumulation of several months of, and maybe even the summer.
Right.
It's been a fun summer that rolled basically right into a fun holiday season.
Yeah.
That started in September.
Well, you bring up a really good point. And I actually saw a good amount of this on Instagram, which I really liked from fitness influencers, is that you're not going to gain an actual 5 pounds of body fat over the holiday. It takes a while to gain that weight. And so it's worth it to let yourself enjoy and also not kind of turn yourself into a restrictive, grumpy person for that reason.
Yeah.
And so it's usually that caloric surplus has been happening for a while. And then with a really steep increase of things that might make us more bloated, that's the fluff. We see it a lot more. And then we're on the other side of the year and it's more apparent.
Right.
And so we're able to snap back when we're in compliance or in some sort of compliance or stability most of the time. But if you're not, then you can't really expect like a 2-week snack back.
Right. So how was it's been almost 3 weeks really since
we're at day 19 of the new year.
And would you consider still in your snapback period, or are you a little bit deeper into implementing some things that are beyond the normal?
I think I've gone through my snapback period, which is short. It's usually like a week, sometimes less.
What do you notice during that week?
During that week,
You said it lasts about a week. During that first week, what stops happening after the first week? Or, what do you notice happening during the first week that you would bucket in that snapback category?
In the snapback category, one thing that I noticed is I'm very motivated. Like things that were really more important to me at the time, like not measuring calories and certain foods, or just like, I'm gonna eat them and enjoy them, and drinking. And then in the snapback phase, it's really easy for me to say like, no thanks.
Gotcha.
And I think that's an important part of snapback is that you're motivated and you're not just kind of forcing yourself into it because it starts to feel good.
Doesn't even sound good to continue the fun times. Yeah. Like the fun times don't even sound fun anymore.
Not really. You're just like, I don't want to feel more bloated and gross.
Right.
So like I do notice that there's usually an adjustment of a couple days where my sleep isn't better. It's actually a little choppier. I think because I have to create like new wind down kind of spaces and activities.
Instead of the wine down?
Yes, exactly. Like when you work at home, there tends to be a need to switch gears.
Yeah.
And I work at my dining room table. So my office is always in my living space. And then I just go to a different part of my living space. And I'm like, okay, what can I change about this environment and help me kind of move into fun times, stop thinking about work. And usually that serves as a good kind of barrier because I don't drink while I'm working. It's a different.
Normally.
Yes. No. I find I have like a kind of spike in energy, which I think also might be coming from,
interesting.
The increased calories that were occurring over the past, week or two.
So your snapback, you actually increased your calories, you think?
No, prior to the snapback.
Oh, got it.
But I'm riding the increased calories.
Gotcha. You're carrying the increased calories.
Yeah, feel the energy of it. And then like further down into it, some days later, then I'm just like, man, I'm kind of hungry now. Like then I start feeling.
Already by the end of that first week.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Or like, I felt it last from like anywhere from like 5 to 10 days.
Okay.
But yeah, then I noticed my sleep improves. Definitely debloat. My stomach is just like way less sticky outy.
And is that objective or like visual?
There is usually, I have measured it and there is a waist change and definitely visual. I can see, I like to have a couple visible abs at the top and I can see those more well-defined and more towards my hip bones too. So just like losing some water weight, more active. So I noticed that my skin looks better.
Interesting.
Further and further down the road too, like less dark circles and fewer wrinkles under my eyes. I really think that cellulite is influenced in a positive way too, less cellulite. So only good things.
Yeah.
Yep.
And behaviorally, what's happening during that? Like what have you changed in your day-to-day routine? You said you're weighing and measuring.
Yeah. So in addition, like beyond just a snapback, we have some in front of the camera experiences coming up in the first week of March. And then I'm also going to go sit on a beach for a week. And I'm just like, those are some fun motivations to kind of make sure I feel really good, And to me, what was going to feel really good is being able to train really well going into that, but not feeling puffy. And if I wanted to lean down even more than I could. I have weighed and measured everything. Like I've been 100% compliance since then, which for me is, I started at 2,100 calories a day. And then I was really hungry and like tired. So I actually added 200 calories on each of my leg days because those are huge training days. No drinking, protein is 145 grams minimum. And those are the real parameters, the very measured caloric goals and the amount of it coming from protein. And that's been good.
Normal snapback, you wouldn't weigh and measure and go completely dry.
Probably not.
It would just be sort of getting into more of a routine.
Single ingredient foods.
Yeah.
Way less sugar, no alcohol.
What have you noticed with weighing and measuring with your week? I always find it, even though I've weighed and measured for years at times, that there's always an eye-opening aspect to what I thought I was eating. And when I actually go back to have to enter it in, when I'm like, yeah, that's not that much. Turns out, I don't know. What's that been for?
Yeah.
What have you noticed?
2 things come to mind. My level of hunger varies throughout the week. So if I'm eating and not tracking, I'll probably think that I'm eating the same each day if I'm eating to a point where I feel the same amount of fullness or just in response to my hunger.
Yeah.
But when I have a target, sometimes I'll have days where I end up with like 500 calories to eat by the end of the day. And I'm just like, I don't know, I could take it or leave it.
Interesting.
And then other days, and I will eat to my top, like I don't actually like to finish a day under because I know the next day won't feel good. I will eat unless I'm trying to bank my calories for another day in the week, but I will get the same amount of calories throughout the week. I don't love under eating. So what I have noticed going back to that is my levels of hunger change throughout the week, even if I'm eating the same amount every day. Some days I eat 2,100 calories and I'm starving. Some days I eat 2,100 calories and I'm really full.
And do you notice that correlates with different training days?
Yeah, like my leg days are huge.
Yeah.
I have a ton of tonnage. So lots of energy. Some days I walk more than others. So it definitely has a lot to do with energy expenditure. And then the other thing is like, it's just really stressful dining out. We even like, we got this dinner from Goop, which if you don't know, that's Gwyneth Paltrow's kind of kitchen meal service restaurant. And it's wonderful. It's delicious. Like
there's no actual sit down version of it, right?
I don't know. Not at the location where
Yeah.
I live, but she has another couple partnerships. It's like delicious chicken, really good vegetables, soups, bowls,
Quote, unquote,
dishes.
healthy.
Yeah.
Like if you look at it, you're like, I'm eating it's basically a salad. Like an actual salad.
It actually is a salad.
And yet.
And you can see all the things that you're eating. There aren't any ingredients where you're just like, I don't know what this is. Like,
Right.
It's wonderful, actually. But yeah, I got a chicken with a double serving of protein. It was more calories than I had in the day. Like, and that was for dinner. So I was really frustrated that
you had left in the day.
Yeah.
It wasn't like more than your whole day.
Correct. It was dinner. And I had a lot left for dinner, but I still didn't have enough calories left to finish my order.
And normally you would have just plowed through it.
Oh, absolutely.
No questions asked.
Yeah.
This is easily within.
It was a salad and chicken.
Yeah.
That was it. It wasn't like noodles. It wasn't buttery vegetables. It's a salad and chicken.
Yeah.
And it would have put me over like at least 400 calories, mostly from the chicken. But man, chicken breast is just like the protein shake of nature. It has so much.
It is really incredible.
So much protein per
Like
bite.
if you're ever behind on protein,
chicken breast.
go get some chicken breast.
It's amazing.
It's why bodybuilders go. Chicken breast and rice.
Yeah.
You also learned something about rice during the measurement, I think.
Well, in my past, I'm not sure if I had been entering my rice as cooked or uncooked. We definitely made the distinction to enter it as cooked. And now I can eat more rice.
For a second, you almost had me convinced that rice was the most calorically dense food on earth.
I did one entry and it was like 600 calories. And I was like, I guess I'll have
for like
2 tablespoons.
For like 80 grams of rice or something. I'm like, how is this possible?
It was really sad.
Yeah, so
that was fun.
Folks out there listening, be sure that you are differentiating between cooked and uncooked rice. And you may even want to go into cooked versus uncooked meats. Those sometimes make a difference, particularly with beef. But if you're tracking using a macro counter, there are a wide range of variables or entries that you can choose from, and be careful about what you're using. And the serving sizes can sometimes be a little nuanced. You got to pay attention to.
And even when you scan a label, there might be multiple entries for that label, and 2 of them are wrong.
Right.
So you have to like double check.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just makes like, and I know there's margin for error. Like you have to have that, but it's if you're going to be really accurate, eating the same thing from the same source is what makes it the most reliable.
Right.
Yeah.
So with those 2 things that you've observed and thinking back to a normal quote unquote week pre-counting, what do you think the difference is? Like, what do you imagine not imagine, but you've now measured what you're actually doing now, what you would be doing in reality when you weren't measuring with your kind of normal weekday and your normal weekend routine?
I definitely would be having a lot more calories come into my body.
Total across the week?
Total across the week.
Yeah.
Probably a little bit less during the week, for sure on the weekend.
Yeah.
More.
Even with just one Sunday kind of going over and then maybe, more drinks on Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah. Not drinking.
Yeah.
I'm surely in like a 3,000 calorie deficit. Just because like when you enter them, the calories are so high.
Yep.
And so what I do notice is when I drink and measure, I'm ravenous because I trade my food for alcohol.
Right.
And that feels horrible. But when I'm not measuring, then I have food and alcohol and that feels better. So
it's really interesting.
Definitely in a deficit.
19 days in, you have both objective and subjective changes that you're starting to observe.
Yeah. So what I've noticed is my weight has gone down a bit, which I don't want to get super lean because I want to be able to train. Like I'm not trying to lose weight, so to speak. I'm trying to be able to train and, look jacked. So I have to be careful because I'm not trying to go down the cut as many calories as I can road.
Right.
I'm trying to keep myself fed, keep my muscle, keep my ability to train without like continuing to gain fluff.
What prompted, you said you added in 400 total calories per week into 200 calorie leg day chunks. What prompted that? Was it weight going down?
Yeah. On my leg days, I would finish the day just like so tired. I remember being on a walk and like I just hit a wall on a walk. I was so tired. Like that's not usual. And there's like this delayed effect where sometimes you'll feel it the day of when you're hungry, but sometimes you don't feel it till the next week. And I don't want to get to that phase. Like I want to prepare for being fed without going overboard. So I'm curious to see what it'll look like by the time I move out of this, which will definitely be on the plane to Mexico on March 6th.
Yeah, because that shoot is right up to the day of the flight.
We shoot on the 4th, the 5th, and then we fly to Mexico on the 6th. So I'm curious to see if I'll actually add more calories in, if I want to pull more out.
How do you triangulate hunger, macro measurement, and energy? Do you have a priority order there? Does hunger matter at this point? Because it sounded like you are choosing to eat, even if you're not hungry, but you haven't hit the macro, and you're choosing to add calories and eat if your energy is low. But I haven't heard you say you're making decisions based on hunger.
First, I notice that I'm hungry. And then the next question I wonder is, could I distribute my calories differently?
Throughout the day?
Yeah. When I measure, I tend to save more calories. Even when I don't measure, I save more calories for later in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And if you see the opportunity to move those around and put more calories earlier in the day, that might actually satisfy hunger. So that's worth doing first. Because hunger, when you're experiencing it like at a certain time, is a little more acute to the situation.
Right.
Versus like fatigue continuously and not being able to increase my work output at the gym.
Right.
But I'm able to see if I can increase my work output. So that's kind of the longer trial. But like the hunger is more of, it creates a thought process of, can I redistribute these calories?
Interesting. And I guess that you'd also mentioned that you're also making choices like hitting your target, even if you're not hungry because you don't want to be hungry.
Yeah.
The next day, and then be scrambling to try to still hit your number, but knowing you're going to be hungry because you have this debt, this extra 400 calorie deficit.
Yeah.
Unless you have some sort of refeed strategy, there's no way to dig yourself out of that hole, that deficit.
So, and that may be something that I do further down the line, but I'm trying to just keep things really steady.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Are you still in the fun doesn't sound good snapback mindset?
Fun sounds great. I want some fun. I want to have fun. I want to drink some fun and eat some fun. But also, I just really like how I've been feeling and looking.
Yeah.
So, and then I keep getting curious, like, what will this be like in 10 more days?
Right.
You know, what will it be like in this many more days? So I know that I can do whatever I want. I really like my body right now. I liked it before. It's not like I'm going to have a glass of wine and turn into like Aunt Marge from Harry Potter. It'll be fine. So, but it's just kind of like, I've invested this many days so far.
Yeah.
Do I want to?
It's a bit of a slippery slope too. Like, is it really going to be just one glass?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So you said that sleep was not better at first. Has that changed?
Oh yeah. Sleep's been great.
Okay.
Just crushing sleep.
Nice.
So much sleep. And we also started taking a magnesium supplement, and that's been very helpful.
Okay.
And so also helpful that it's cold and dark now.
Right.
Creates great sleeping caves.
Yes.
And magnesium supplement has been amazing for a lot of deep sleep. Yeah. And I've been pretty good about deep sleep too, but like my heart rate is so low when I sleep. I think my average one night was 41 beats per minute across the entire time I was in bed, which was probably 10 hours. So yeah, way lower heart rate. And my resting heart rate also has gone down too. It's like my resting heart rate, according to my Apple Watch data, is like 43.
Wow.
For always.
Even waking.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. So that's pretty neat.
There's some dramatic changes. I also wonder, beyond the acute things that you've already noticed, which I would, in terms of changing body rhythms and body composition and just health in general. 19 days is not very long.
Right.
We know, just like we've talked about with previous nutrition episodes, that we set our clients up to think more in like a 3 to 6 to 18 month time frame when you're trying to change your body in a meaningful way. So it does get really interesting. If it feels this good only 19 days in, what happens?
Right. And like, what if I add more calories in and then I still get what I want when I add more calories in?
Oh,
that sounds nice.
So you're interested in experimenting with that?
Yeah, because I don't need to get smaller.
Right.
Like, I want to be able to keep having muscle,
So have you done any kind of intentional in your past reverse dieting?
I don't know if I could say for sure that it fits the reverse dieting box. I have done phases where I get an idea of what I'm eating and then I try and eat a little bit more. I guess I have done reverse dieting a long time ago, but too long ago for me to like actually remember much about it.
Have you talked with your coach about trying that?
No, not yet. Although we do have a call coming up. Yeah.
Stabilizing. I mean, you're still in the window of time where
it's too soon.
You could argue you're still just trying to stabilize and see how it responds, taking, like you said, the change in calories and the source of those calories is dramatically different than a month ago.
Right.
And it's going to take 2, 3
and months before that.
And months before that's probably going to take 2, 3, maybe even 4 weeks to know where you like where the changes stop. Especially, I mean, you went 2 weeks, then you added 400 calories. Probably need another 2 weeks to see how that feels. Plus, you get the other variable thrown in of now that's enabling you to work harder during your training sessions.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of moving pieces that take time to see.
And then like the
how
hormonal cycle means you get 4 different weeks a month.
Right.
So like, you need a long time to actually be able to compare apples to apples.
Yeah. How do you do that week to week? Because it's so different.
It's so different. I just kind of know that, well, this must be the time where I'm heavier, and this must be the time when I'm lighter. And just kind of be like, oh, okay.
But you're not tracking that in enough detail to know this is a heavier week or lighter week?
Well, I haven't. It's only been 19 days. Like, there hasn't even been full cycle. So,
right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is so complicated.
Yeah, it is. And that's why, like, when you're doing, like you were saying, when you're doing something like this in nutrition, you need a lot of time. And that's why I think it's the skill to be able to be so consistent that you can say things are the same as I can make them for at least 2 weeks at a time.
It's one of the biggest challenges, I think, between strength coaching and nutrition coaching is that you're walking this fine line of becoming neurotic about all the variables to measure and yet getting enough data over a long enough period of time to be able to make intelligent decisions.
Yeah.
And with strength training, you have these nice 3 to 4 sessions a week where you have weight on the bar. It's very relatively objective. Relatively objective.
Yikes. Subjectively objective.
Well, it's more objective than how much you think you're eating, or unless you're weighing and measuring. But even if you're weighing and measuring, there's so much margin of error within macro counting that the weight on the bar seems relatively objective.
It really does.
Even though you might perceive that weight very different. Anyways, point being, you have these very concrete variables that you're measuring and adjusting 3 to 4 times a week for your strength training. With nutrition, you've got 1,000 variables between all the different opportunities you have to eat, how your hormones might be changing over time, how
water intake.
Yeah, water intake, sleep, stress, your training is also going to influence how much body weight you have. And then maybe you're weighing yourself once a day. When your weight changes by 2, 3, 4, 5% throughout the day, that's another interesting variable.
Yeah.
So you're just needing a lot more time and a lot more stability.
Yeah.
But it sounds like things are going the direction you want.
They are. Yeah,
Faster
they're really
than you
good.
thought.
I feel good. I like how I look. It's like exactly what I wanted.
Nice.
So that's neat.
Is there anything that you feel like that's going to push your comfort zone at all? Or are you kind of more just, because you've got 6 weeks?
Yeah, I think it's about 6 weeks.
6 or 7 weeks?
Yeah.
Anything that you wanted to try, any levers left that you have to pull?
I think just making sure.
Like if the video shoot were tomorrow, you'd be like, sweet, done, let's go.
I probably would be. I would do a lot of arms because the video shoots are definitely going to be showing my arms more than anything.
So we gotta get a good pump.
Yeah.
Cool.
And also I wanted to do this just for the ability to know that I can still do it. I think that's kind of becoming more and more important. And just as more practice, it does take practice.
Right.
And you kind of have to throw yourself into it to remember what it feels like to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if I'm going to tell my clients to do it, I better be doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what about you? You've done a snapback focus.
I would say I did a little bit more of what we referred to as the snapback.
Yeah.
Before, where it's just that I've gotten back into my routine, my normal structure of food, with the one caveat being that I've essentially eliminated alcohol.
Relatively.
The only exceptions I've made are to test.
Okay. It's
for science. It's purely scientific that I need to drink this alcohol. I too am a bit of a scientist. So I've had exactly three drinks, a beer,
margarita.
Oh, sorry, 4 drinks. I didn't count the margarita because somebody else
trashy too
bought the margarita before I got there, and I felt socially required to consume the. Okay, well, I could have said no, but I chose not to say no. So, so I wasn't choosing. I did not. All right, I drank 4 drinks. Margarita.
It's amazing.
A glass of wine.
Oh yeah.
3 ounces of really nice bourbon.
Yeah.
It was so good. So delicious. And 1 beer.
Yeah. Nice.
And I did them all relatively far apart from each other.
Yep.
And wanted to see if there was any impact to my sleep. So the biggest change that I've noticed in this snapback period, because I've essentially eliminated alcohol except for those 4 times. I feel like such a poser. Anyways, I've got to caveat everything. But even with those 4 drinks, the sleep is incredibly better.
So good.
Measurably. I mean, I've been using the same sleep app for it's almost 3 years now. And I can go see that my deep sleep has improved by an hour. It's essentially doubled.
Yeah.
In the last 2.5 weeks, simply by eliminating.
The average has doubled.
Almost eliminating alcohol. Yeah. So whereas it used to be, I was stoked if I got an hour and a half of deep sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say average was like an hour to an hour 15. I'm now disappointed in myself if I get less than an hour and a half. And I expect to see 2+ hours. And that just feels totally different. I've definitely gotten to the point over the last few years where number of hours of sleep has noticeably less impact than number of deep sleep hours.
For sure.
So I can be in bed for, tossing and turning for 8 or 9 hours. If I get 0 deep sleep, I do not feel rested.
Feels terrible.
Yeah, I don't get that feeling of a new day. Ha, ha, ha. But then I've had nights in this period where I'm only getting 5-6 hours of sleep, but I got 2.5 hours. So 50% deep sleep. That's the other thing I've noticed is that the percentage of my sleep that's deep is significantly higher, which is, I think, partly that no alcohol. And I've partly benefited from the 400 milligrams or so of magnesium. I definitely noticed a difference there. That, I think, has been the biggest difference this time. And those 4 drinks did not impact my sleep. So, as far as I could measure, but maybe it would have been better. They weren't awesome nights, but I didn't have the normal heart rate spike. And I should say heart rate is another huge difference. It's measurably 10% lower on average. 10%. So, 5 beats doesn't sound like a lot, but when I go from my average being 55 to 57, and now it's 48 to 50.
For your size too, that's really cool.
Yeah. So that's a big drop in heart rate. My respiration rate has also gone down.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just obviously my body's having to manage less stress.
And that's such an important part of body recomposition is being able to sleep well.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I've seen more and more nutrition folks talking about that. It's the wonder drug is sleep. And it's just, nobody wants to talk about it really because it's so boring and it's so quote unquote obvious. Cut back on drinking and get more sleep and improve the quality of your sleep.
It really feels like anti-aging.
I would put it even in front of lifting because the other thing I've noticed is that I'm getting more out of my training. I'm more energized going into my training. I can push the training harder. My aches and pains have gone down. I don't know whether that's an inflammation cascade effect of not drinking and sleeping improving, but that's just the thing I've noticed. Now, what's surprised me is that normally what I would categorize like measurably as my snapback is a significant 5+ pound snapback, quote unquote, of weight reduction, which I haven't really seen.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And I don't know what that is. There could be some other factors there. I've started taking creatine semi-regularly most of the time, more than half the time. And then I've also started taking sodium.
Oh, yeah, that's
which
right.
has also been helpful with sleep. I remember seeing Stan Efferding talking about it a year or two ago, that he'll take 1,000 milligrams, a gram worth of sodium in a tablet form before bed. And that minimizes the number of wake ups that he has.
That sounds nice, actually.
I'm loving it. I stumbled into this by eating an entire bag of popcorn.
Before bed.
Right before bed. And realized, I woke up the next morning and was like, what? Normally I'm a 1 to 3 time up a night kind of person, needing to go micturate.
Thank you.
And in this random night, I went to bed and I woke up at like 6 a.m. wondering, like, what happened? And I was like, that's interesting. Usually don't sleep through the night. Didn't think anything of it. Next night, ate another bag of popcorn.
Take notes on this new diet plan, y'all. Sometimes drink, sometimes have creatine, and eat popcorn before bed.
And I did it again. Slept through the night. I'm like, that's interesting. And then I flashed back to the Stan Efferding quote that I was like, I wonder how much sodium is in these bags. Turns out it's about 1,000 milligrams. It's almost 1,000 milligrams exactly of sodium. So add another bag of popcorn. For
science.
For science. Slept through the night again. And then fourth night, I had a half bag of popcorn. And then supplemented
MED
with some salt.
Nice.
Just took some salt. The equivalent.
Like you put in a spoon?
I just teaspoon, dry shot it. I mean, I've learned from you that
the best way to take
dry
creatine.
scooping creatine is by far the best way.
Here's what you do. Take a sip of water, keep it in your mouth, and then dump the creatine into your mouth. Boom.
Swish, swallow, done.
So much better than putting it in whatever you're drinking.
And trying to figure out what to do with this gritty water that doesn't mix and then leaves this like half of the residue.
Yeah. You don't even get the whole scoop.
Yeah. So basically doing that same method with sodium, with salt.
Nice.
And I should probably get some sodium tablets because table salt and even, kosher salt doesn't 1-to-1. But it's roughly half teaspoon, I think, of salt is about 1,000 milligrams of sodium.
Okay.
So
not that much.
Not that much.
No.
It's a little bit to choke down, not my favorite, but I don't mind it. So I started doing that. And between that and the magnesium and not drinking,
amazing.
Sleep is
such a game changer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm debating about whether to go into, earplugs and eye stuff. But this time of year, like you said, it's so dark, it's cold and relatively quiet. So I'm not really doing that. But the summer is a pain because
summer's so hot.
Light till 11 o'clock up here. The birds are going nuts at 4 in the morning. So they only really get like 5 hours of quiet. So I might need to add those.
Summertime edition.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're all
summertime
spoiled right now.
Edition. Because right now it's like 4:30 rolls around and I'm like, bed's starting to sound pretty good.
Oh, I know.
The other one that I'm working on is putting my phone most nights in another room or not on the nightstand, or at least when I do, I notice that has a positive impact. So similar to you, I'm going to give myself like one more week to see, because the weight was going down. I did actually have, after the first week and a half, the drop into the 240s. And that's why I do think it might have been the creatine and the sodium, because it was when it was the second and it was the week and a half where I was taking creatine, where it kind of popped back up into the low 250s. So I'm going to give it another week, see what happens. And then I might need to get kind of the next level of granularity. I think where for me it gets a little off the rails is dinner. I think I just add in extra, primarily from adding extra meat or higher fat meat.
You tend to sample a lot while you're cooking.
Definitely a food sampler, and rice is delicious.
Yes. God, it's so good.
Man, I came up with the perfect rice making recipe in the Instapot. 1-to-1 water to rice. Although I have been, instead of using water, using my homemade chicken stock.
Yeah.
And 3 minutes high pressure.
Do you add salt?
Add a little sprinkle of salt.
Okay.
3 minutes high pressure. Don't turn the keep warm off. All right. I just said double negative. Turn the keep warm off.
Yeah.
After it gets up for 3 minutes, let it sit, natural depressurization for 10 minutes.
Okay.
And then manual depressurize the rest.
Okay.
It is freaking
It really is.
perfect.
It's so fluffy and delicious.
Perfect. So good. And I eat almost all of it every time. I was really proud of myself that I had like half a cup left over.
I love that you told Clara, hey, Clara, we need to make sure we have some of this for tomorrow.
That's right. I had to give her the coaching.
Yes.
Because I was not going to finish it.
Amazing. Okay. One more thing that I think we both kind of started doing in different ways that has helped sleep is like a end of day, almost like a brain dump, or just like getting open loops out of our head and onto a piece of paper or onto our schedule, or put those somewhere. And I think that really helps with the wind down brain spinning that can happen during that time.
I use a program called Reclaim.ai. No affiliation, but I've been really enjoying it. It's supposedly AI, but what does that mean? I don't know. But it adjusts my calendar automatically for me, and I can enter tasks, and it'll just stuff that into the calendar based on prioritization and how much time I want to spend on it and what I want to break it up, blah, blah, blah. So at the end of the day, I can just enter in all the tasks that I have in my brain, and it'll stick it in the calendar. And
nice. That's so reassuring.
And then I'm done.
Yeah.
That's definitely been helpful, as well as reading a little bit before bed with low lights. I like having a bedstand light or nightstand light.
The bedside lamp.
Why can't I say these words? Versus the overhead light.
For sure.
And definitely not looking at my phone, which I don't think it's the light. I've been convinced that it's not necessarily the light from the phone, but it's the excitement of, generally speaking for me, social media, like whatever it is. The
scrolling to the next. What's next? Yeah.
Yeah. And then getting fired up about something. So,
and then it kind of invites that, well, what's going on over here? And what's going on over here? And what's going on over here? Yeah, I do that too. Cool. Well, neat. I am curious to hear if anybody else tries this stuff out, but give nutrition stabilization a shot. Give yourself 2 weeks on being very, very consistent. That kind of sets the ground for some sort of information that will allow you to move forward, and hoping that your training is going well. And if you have any questions, I'd love to hear them. You can shoot us a message, podcast@barbell-logic.com.
Yep.
If you're curious about what it would be like to work with a coach with any of this, schedule an experience call with us, barbelllogic.com/experience. And thanks for listening.
Shout out to Graham for asking the sleep question.
Yeah, thank you, Graham.
Let us know if that answered your question, or if you want more detail. Sort of like riffed on our sleep, but we could go into a deeper discussion about sleep strategies.
Oh, I forgot we were going to start this podcast with each of us snoring.
Cold intro.
Yeah.
I also have a correction.
Oh.
During the blockies, I think we're all surprised Eric Dahl wasn't the one listed as the heaviest press.
Yeah.
Turns out we need to probably update our PR scrubbing approach, because we took 1RMs for the year. But it turns out Eric didn't hit a 1RM, which he's done 315 in the past. He didn't hit it this year, but he has hit a double and a triple at, I think it was 285, which was heavier than the recorded 1RM. So
it's important.
Adam Fangman still had his 275, was his heaviest single of 2023 and across block. But we also had people probably doing higher rep counts for more weight. So I need to take that into account.
Cool. Awesome.
Correction and shout out.
Thank you. Well, thanks for listening. Hopefully you got some good nuggets out of this, and we love a review, and we love a share if you feel like that would be useful to someone. See you here next week.
Bye-bye.